I actually decided to take it full time because I enjoyed working in the office and I liked the work that we did.
Okay, thanks. George, another question, if you would, please. If the assessor lowers my property values, do my taxes go down?
No.
That's it?
There's a relationship between your property tax bill and your property assessment that a lot of people don't understand. The assessor's office is not responsible for the amount of your tax bill in regards to the actual dollar amount. You know, we touched on earlier about other entities, you know, using your taxing dollars. You know, there's schools, police departments, fire departments, park districts, and the township. There's libraries. There's all kinds of stuff that use your tax dollars. If you look at your tax bill and you look at the breakdown of where your taxing dollars actually go, each one of those taxing bodies is responsible for a portion of your tax bill. So the township and the assessor's office in particular doesn't drive the amount of your tax bill. We only set values on your property. It is the value of your property that determines your portion of the tax burden for all of the taxing bodies within you live.
Okay, thanks, George. Another question, please. And I'm assuming because you've hung around the assessor's office that you might be able to answer an incumbent's question, so I'm going to ask it of you. How many appeals has the township received in the last 4 years? How many have resulted in a lower assessment, and what is the time frame for a response to the homeowner? Do you feel qualified to answer these?
Portions of it, not all.
Okay, well, do what you can. It was really directed to the incumbent, but I'm curious to know what you know about this.
I know that in 2012, Avon Township had in the neighborhood of 4,100 appeals. 2,100 of them were new appeals filed to the Board of Review in Waukegan. I don't know the outcome of all of them. I do know that there was in the neighborhood of, I was just looking at this stuff a couple weeks ago because we were comparing our township to other ones. I want to say there was, you know what, I don't even want to be misstated, but there was a considerable drop. I also know that Avon Township had the biggest drop in assessed value out of all townships in the counties.
Thanks. Appreciate you going for that.
Could I embellish on that a bit? Because it does impact property value, what we were talking about earlier.
Okay, let me finish with this question, George. I mean, Ronald, Douglas. What's your name? I need to let him answer all the questions. And this, George, it really has to do with what you regard as being your 3 top priorities and really an evaluation of the services that are now being offered.
My 3 top priorities would be improve public relations. To serve the taxpayers by treating each person with courtesy and respect, by offering more and improved services, by improving assessments and accountability, by making data available through the internet and in-office research, and by improving communications through publications and meetings, by appraisals. And what I mean by appraisals, creating fair and equitable assessments based on sound appraisal practices and that support evaluations through improved documentation. I'll evaluate the current property records to ensure that the information that we're using to create these valuations are up to date. Personnel. I will train and educate a staff to be professional appraisers and effective public relation skills with effective public relations skills. That's something that we've strived for in the office that I work in now. It's just that. It is treating everybody equally, spending time with each one, making sure they understand the information that we're telling them. Nobody is going to like all the answers you give them. But I can't tell you how many times in the time I've been in the assessor's office, personally, where I've been told, well, I don't like it, but I understand it. And thank you for taking the time to make sure I understand.
Okay. One last question. What do you feel about only an attorney representing a tax appeal?
Well, actually, not only attorneys can represent tax appeals, so that's not a complete accurate statement or question. There is talks about not allowing tax reps to file an appeal on behalf of a taxpayer or homeowner, and that only attorneys are allowed to do it. But above and beyond that, the homeowner always has the right to appeal their assessment and go to the board hearings and be part of it. So it's not just the homeowner having to hire an attorney to appeal their taxes. The homeowner is first and foremost always able to appeal their assessment without help of anybody.
Okay, I think that says it for you in terms of any more questions we have. I thank you for taking stabs at some of those that maybe weren't fair, but we're curious people here. So anyway, George, thanks a lot. Douglas, if there's time at the end, I'll let you say something, but we need to go on now to the Highway Commissioner office. The Highway Commissioner oversees and is responsible for the construction, maintenance, and repair of roads within the unincorporated areas of the district, letting contracts, employing labor, and purchasing material and machinery subject to certain limitations. So there are three candidates for that one position. Two of them are here tonight, so we'll first hear from Mr. Robert D. Kula. Mr. Kula, your opening statement, please, sir.
Thank you. Well, I go by Bob. So my name is Bob Kula. I live in Grays Lake. I've been there for 12 years now. I'm married to my wife, Laura, 20 years next week. We have 4 kids. I've been employed at Avon Township since 1984. So the reason that I'm running for highway commissioner is because...
some people in the back can't hear. So
I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So the reason I'm running for highway commissioner is because I love what I do. I've been there, if you stick around in a job for 29 years, it's because you have a passion for it. And I have a passion for helping people. I've had, the opportunity to work with many people over the last 29 years, and there's a lot more I'd like to do. As highway commissioner, I can do that. I am certified through stormwater management as a dedicated erosion control inspector. So I do have a background for the job. And my main goal is to increase cooperation with other villages. We do that now, actually. We've been doing that. I've been doing that with Pat for the last, for as long as I can remember, and I just want to continue that cooperation with the other villages. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And now Mr. James P. Denomi. Mr. Denomi, if we could hear your opening statement, please, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just to give you a snapshot of the qualifications, I've been living here in Haynesville for 12 years, so I've been in Avon Township for 12 years. I'm a member of the Haynesville Woodlands Open Space and Wetlands Committee, the Haynesville-sponsored Golden Age Club, and I'm a past member of the United States Steelworkers of America and the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen. I've been a driver for Berry Trucking in Milwaukee, and served as past Civil Service Commissioner and also for the Board of Zoning Appeals and Deputy Director of the Office of Telecommunications for the City of Milwaukee. So I've had some commissioner experience in the past. Also, I did work on a contract with the Colorado Department of Transportation with CDOT in the past, the job that I had out at Boulder, Colorado. I currently serve as the president of the Mitchell Museum of the American Indian, the International Institute of Wisconsin, and both organizations completed our last fiscal year in the black, I'm real happy to tell you. I bring real valuable budgeting and grants experience to for-profit, not-for-profit, and government levels to the Avon table. I would like to be a force for stabilization in the highway department and township government. In the last 48 months, I've seen change in virtually every position in the Avon Township government. Number two, I'd like to be a force for financial stabilization. The administration should consider accrual or cash basis of accounting and not the financial hybrid it now places the most recent audit report states. We need to communicate, that seems to be the big word tonight, to all 65,000 Avon residents, and to avoid things like abandoning seniors on the basement busward because the information wasn't correct. Today I've met with Lake County Strategic Planning reps, IDOT, Lake County Stormwater Management Commission rep, emergency management folks, and I have a family tradition. My great-grandfather was the very first highway commissioner of Baraga County, Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, some questions, gentlemen. This is a question we don't often get, but I'm sure everybody deep down wants to know the answer to it, and maybe you can tell us in less than a minute, but why do you want this job? Who in their right mind would want this job? Is what the implication is. Bob. Yeah, you start, Bob.
Why do I want the job? As I stated in my opening statement, because I love what I do. I love getting up in the middle of the night and snow plowing roads. And roads, I do. You do it for 29 years. You don't do it because it's a job. You do it because you really enjoy it. It's helping people. It's helping people is why I want to stay at the highway department as commissioner, because I truly enjoy helping people. That's number one.
Thanks, Bob. Jim?
I think I earlier stated some of the reasons, but I think, like this man right here, I'd like to help people. I don't mind getting up in strange hours, and I like the weather, and I like to get out. In fact, Barb sometimes looks at me with rolled back eyes when I tell her I used to camp in the winter. So, but also, I don't want to necessarily make you nervous. There are some things I like to mix new technology with old traditional ways, and so the plowing is great. But I think that there are some instances when, like airplane pilots, you have to get into a simulator and learn how to handle situations and things like that. There's no such a thing for snowplow drivers. So that we have the best guys on the road doing the best job in these unincorporated townships, but really need some help, because many of those roadways, in fact, some of my, in our ethnically diverse neighborhood, come from different countries, and they talk sometimes about our third world roads. They're tough, they're not always the best shape. And so we need to be able to take care of them in a good, professional, competent way.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Jim, now, if you don't mind, if you can answer this one. And it's an informative question. How many employees in the highway department, and what kind of uniforms have you purchased with the budget line item of $5,000?
Well, I haven't purchased any. But I looked at, when I examined the budget, I looked at the budget of $5,000 for and I thought, well, is this Gucci, or is this Mills Fleet Farm? You know, what's the deal there? For basically 3 to 4 people. But I also noticed that less than half of that was actually used for that equipment.
Okay, and Bob, how about you?
Again, I'm not in charge of purchasing, but it's actually been in the back of my mind, and what I would do as highway commissioner is, comment a lot of the utility companies do. They give you a budget, personal budget, say $200 a year, and you go out and buy your pants and some shirts, and you're set for the year, and then you're responsible for taking care of your uniforms, and that's the end of it. Just on a personal basis, I know working there that that's very doable, and probably something I look at doing.
Okay, Bob, you're up for this one. Due to the fact that there are only 12 miles of roads for Avon Township to maintain, a highway commissioner plays a major role as part of the workforce as well as an administrator. What certification or skills do you possess that will enable you to do this job effectively?
As I stated before, I do have that designated erosion control inspector certification through SMC. And then again, my 29 years of experience, I think, speaks for itself. And when you talk about, that we only have 12.49 miles